magistrate, work just begun. I grow for the elders, for the aches and pain. I grow for the young who walk in the rain. This ain't no commerce, this ain't no vice. This is Nevis tradition, it have a price. Now here's the irony, the whole island know. They approve the farming, they promote the show. Same ones who clap, turn around and seize. But the farmer's still standing, taking the breeze. The magistrate nod, say you can play your part. Go on to the show, let the music start. Bank it and the court, give a little smile. But his confiscated parts, them keep a while. So he walk on stage with his head held high, sing about the land beneath the Nevis sky, yeah. Them take the part, but not the soul. Banky stand in control. What he plan, truth and right. What they keep a losing fight.
And global greetings, welcome to another edition of Everything Agriculture here on Real Entertainment Network.
I'm not seeing my video.
It's another beautiful Friday evening.
Special edition of the Topics.
Okay, all right. Well, usually it's Everything Agriculture on a Friday evening, but yeah, people, we're gonna have a special exclusive edition of the Topics here on Real Entertainment Network. Danny, well, I'm seeing your video. I'm not seeing you in the video, but your video is still up on.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any video either.
Well, I'm seeing you, but you're not sitting in your chair where you probably would have been. Anyway, I guess as we get that sorted out with our guest. No. I'm hearing you, but not seeing you. You're not sitting where you were sitting before. So if you are sitting there, I don't know if you have some magical, mirror that is blocking you from where we can see you from that vantage point.
I'm sitting there. I'm sitting there, but I'm not even seeing myself on the video right now.
Let me log out and come back in. Yeah.
So probably maybe you need to log out and log back in and see what happens there. In the meantime, we will have the technician on standby to assist you with whatever reconnection that you may need to have. Or maybe if the technician is here, what we can do is probably take an early break and we're seeing you now. All right, you're here. You're good. All right. So that's what you probably needed to do, just log back in. So greetings, Oli. Greetings, Layamiga. And for those of you who are not familiar with our federation, Oli is the indigenous name for the island known as Nevis, and Layamiga is the indigenous name for the island known as St. Kitts. I also want to say good evening to the rest of our brothers and sisters throughout the entire Eastern Caribbean. I also want to say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you may be geographically on the globe. Some one of those greetings may be applicable to you. It's Friday evening here in the Federation of St. Kitts, and depending on the paradigm in which you ascribe to, it may be Good Friday for you, but it may be Bad Friday for some. However, usually on a Friday we would have Everything Agriculture, but we have an exclusive edition of the Topics this evening, and we have with us our special guest for this evening, Daniel Arthurton, better known as Danny, and our usual co-host, Shabazz Banky King. and I will give my co-host an opportunity to introduce himself and do his greetings, and then I will do a brief bio of Daniel Arthurton, and then give him an opportunity to correct or add to anything that I probably would present, and also to give us a little background history and himself, share his story before we get into some of the questions and some of the issues that we would want to discuss on this evening's edition of the topics. So that's the format. So Banky, I want to say greetings, welcome to another edition of the topics.
Greetings, Justin, and greetings to the viewing and listening audience who choose to tune into us on this holiday weekend. It's a Good Friday throughout the Eastern Caribbean and other parts around the world. So a lot of different activities were going on. I know today I passed a car and I was wondering if he carrying a whole fridge, but realized it was a box kite. I was amazed. So I figure you were heading to the flats. So no, that's the time today is dedicated to the flats where people go and have their fun and fly their kite and stuff like that. So hope everything went well with that. Let me say good evening for those who are listening wherever at the sound of my voice, which I greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. You could be listening to any other media house or just home chilling, but you choose to tune in with us today. We're definitely in for a very good discussion when it comes to the Destiny Project and what's going on in Nevis and stuff like that. But let me first say, shout out to Jammer. I wanted to pass by Jammer this afternoon, had a good reasoning with him, in good spirit. Definitely looking forward for the match coming up next Friday from the Hamilton House up to the Dual Walwins Square, where we'll have an open mic, but the mic is not going to be stated for politicians. It's a non-political march. It's a march for better policing, human rights, and about the cannabis, and make sure the cannabis industry is mainly focused on the locals and the indigenous people and stuff like that. So we're inviting everyone to come out and support, even the NIA, the ministers, just everyone in the community, because when human rights and the officers in charge and stuff like, and don't really understand the rights of the citizens, then it can cause a real conflict. So that is something we want to get clear. And also with all these gays, these police wearing, it's intimidating the society itself. We are really losing our policing what we have to. So definitely calling for better policing where cameras can be put on the police and you don't have to have all these tactical gears and all these guns and stuff like that, where the locals them don't really have that trust when it comes to the police and stuff like that, and don't have to use intimidation. So definitely looking forward for that match and stuff like that. I mean, everyone seems to be excited. Remember, if you want to have your shirts and stuff like that, just check out Red Ibis Kadu. I mean, give him a call, put in your order, and he'll get the shirt definitely to you and stuff like that. So, as I said, this match is beyond politics. It's and it have nothing to do with politics, and it's also beyond cannabis. It's the rights of the citizens, and we really want to be working with the police, but we have to have the citizens got to have a better relationship. So we want to call and ask the federal government and the NIA to have a meeting in the communities when it comes to the police and how they can get better training when it comes to dealing and interacting with the community, and not to enforce and intimidate them and treat them in a humane way, and make sure some of these facilities that have the call holding cells are in better condition. So really asking for the media houses to go out and investigate some of these police station and and how the holding cell them is in dire need of repairs and so forth. Also, I want to put out a call for the Prospect Primary School. There is some work need to be done on the septic tank. I hope the maintenance team, I mean, I know that will fall under education, so I'm calling on the minister in charge, Mr. Leibert, and reach out to the head teacher and make sure that been over a year now that's been in a situation where you need to have a hole put inside where you can take out, clean it out and stuff like that. So there's definitely some work need to be done on that, and hopefully can get those started out within a week's time, and I'll give an update on that. Yeah, son, been getting some rain and stuff like that, so definitely it's a long weekend coming up, and definitely looking forward for the end of this discussion. Danny, how are you doing, my virgin?
Well, greetings. As Yason will say, global greetings. I can't come second if the man want to be global. I can't just stay local. So, a warm and, friendly evening to you, and the topics. Thanks for having me here. As it is really, but
You're, break, you're breaking up. You're breaking up. You seem as if we have a little um,
You just start
delay.
over. You had a
Yeah,
break
so
okay.
again.
that
Just
Can
is,
you
start
hear me
over.
clearly now?
yes, hearing you
Yes,
clearly
yes.
now.
Okay. So, a very pleasant evening to everyone. Thank you at the topics for inviting me to appear on this platform so that I can, answer some questions. And so the pleasure is mine. And, global greetings to everyone.
All right, so folks, we have with us Danny Arthurton. Danny Arthurton is a lifelong agriculture advocate and owner of Nevis Hydro Gardens, a 5-acre sustainable farm in Catesby, Nevis, focusing on hydroponics, biodiversity, water conservation, and agrotourism. His career includes roles like farmer business development consultant at Nevis Hydro Gardens since 2019, advisor at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank from 2016 to 2019, marketing officer at the Nevis Island Administration from 1991 to 1997, where he marketed over $1 million in agricultural products, and board positions at the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union and St. Kitts and Nevis Development Bank. He studied at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, has global experience in agricultural innovation, and served as patron for Agri Expo 2025, pioneering sustainable farming for food security on St. Kitts and Nevis. And just a little brief, and I'm saying very brief, bio of the man himself who we have here in our presence and who we're about to engage in our discussions with. So, like I would have mentioned a bit earlier in my introduction, I would now give Danny an opportunity to correct or add to anything that we would have highlighted in the little bio, and also to share a little bit of his story, a little bit of Danny. Who is Danny? If you want to go as far back as Danny growing up, in whatever community and as a little boy, and however far you want to take it, and then in after we get into some of the questions and so on, and some of the issues and some of the topics that we have on the platform. So, Danny, we're going to turn the mic over to you to give that brief introduction of yourself, and like I said, to correct any or add to anything that we would have highlighted in your bio.
Well, a very pleasant evening to each and everyone who listening. I do not spend too much time talking about me because I don't think I'd rather get to the topics and answer questions. But all I can say is that I've been fortunate that I grew up with my grandmother, and in Gingerland, Webb's Ground, Florence Fatherless Williams, and I'm also from the Armory side and the Arthurton side and so forth. My father did a lot, and he is who I have to give a lot of the groundings to. He and my grandmother, because my grandmother worked at New River Estates and all those places, and she sort of gave me the foundation and understanding about interaction with the agriculture, because she worked as a laborer at New River Estate for most of her life, over 30, 40 years. And what she did everything from plant cotton, plant the vegetables, going up the valley, helping with the cleaning and whatever. My father, on the other side, he dealt with the water, the catchment over at Camp Spring, 14 acres. My father, when I was a when I grew up, knowing that, he was the one who cleaned up the catchment area, planted, a significant amount of, flora, any kind of fruit that you could think about, and the people there can attest to that and so forth. Fed everybody in that area. 14 acres, as I keep telling people, those were the days when we harvest, banana by the truckloads. We pick bath pans full of bread nut. we have bags of avocado. Limes was a big thing at the time. My father was one of the main people around here doing limes, and we make lime juice and sell. And so, those sorts of things. And he was the one responsible for putting down the infrastructure of the water. And I have to pay tribute to him because that's the, King Arthurton that, everyone knew about. I mean, when you see him coming, you run because he doesn't want anybody to be wasting water. When you talk about water conservation, that's what most people know about my father and that infrastructure. And so that's where I came from. Around 1970, he came here to Cades Bay, and because at that time he retired and he can't move with the government land, even though he improved it, and they were not going to give him any compensation. And in order for him not to get into any confrontation, I tell him, let's get over here. And so we came to Cades Bay, and he was one of the most active persons in the in the Cades Bay Farmers Association, and a great uncle of Banky, Mr. Joseph Claxton, and people like Winston Hanley and Sibu. At the time it was called, and they had about 20 of them. And so this is where they started. If you come to Cades Bay and you go to what is considered the government fruit orchard, you'll see the big Negapali mango trees that are there. My father was the one who planted those, because at that time people were saying they're not going to plant any fruit trees, that if government tell them to leave, they got to leave it. The only other persons that did that were myself and Mansa, early days, because he was doing some work by Miss Walters in town and was doing exceptionally well. And, we worked at agriculture prospect together, and he would come with me on Saturdays. And I said to him, but your uncle have a good piece of land down there and things like that. He was one of the major livestock farmers in the place. I mean, why don't you do that? So we went down and we got that sorted out, and Mansa was at Cades Bay, and the rest of the story, Banky will have to tell it. So, but the thing about it is that, I'm here and I continue where my father left. And so, I have moved onto this space and decided to make it a sustainable small farm enterprise. After 2006, I decided that, I'm back in the Federation because I traveled outside to do other things. And I started working at the Central Bank. And so I will come home every weekend, and this is my nesting egg. And thank heavens, right now it's a little more than 5 acres, but it has over 120 different species of crops and herbs and different sort of spices, and all of the technologies, whether it is ground cover, drip irrigation, orchard cropping, hydroponics. The thing about it is that you just say it, and I mean, I consider myself an advocate. I did not speak to the fact that I worked in the Ministry of Agriculture for 20 years, started as in a school of agriculture, and then I worked my way up, and then I went away to the university in Massachusetts, came back, and was the first marketing officer, built the marketing unit, the infrastructure down on the public market, was doing significant sales on behalf of the Nevis growers, which was a farmer organization. And we had meetings once every month. And I mean, over $1,000, of resources. And I can say by the time I left in 1996 to go off to the United Nations to do some work, we had, I left several thousand, $100,000 plus in the marketing unit that was generated from the cess taken from the farmers. So, I mean, I've made partial contribution. I'm happy to see, as the King James Version say, he that cometh after is mightier, and I respect that. And so, I continue to do what I do.
Enough respect, my brother, and that is why it's important to allow people to share their own story, because even though I would have done a bit of research myself, a lot of what you would have just highlighted, I may not know about, some of the older people may know about, but you're helping to share a bit of the legacy. So people may see you, and people may see, well, yes, Danny is doing this hydroponics farm out there, but people might know, well, the Danny who work at ECCB, but they would not know the other aspects of Danny. And so it's good that you're able to share your own story, and that's one of the things that we love to do when we get on the platform here. We give our guests that opportunity to just free up and just share your story. So I know, like you mentioned, you don't really like to talk about yourself necessarily, but like I said, though, it's important still to at least give a little brief synopsis, and we're grateful for that because I've learned a good bit from what you would have just shared with us a bit. Um, we will get into some of the questions, and I guess we're gonna kick things off. The proposed special sustainability zone in Nevis and the project, the Destiny project, that is, sparking debate or development on the development and sovereignty and external investment. You shared some critical views via social media and its implications for local control. What key concerns did you raise in your social media article about the Destiny project, particularly regarding division sovereignty and external influences?
Well, the interesting thing about the whole SSZ is that my question was, well, I've made three postings as it relates to the SSZ. The first posting, I mused that I was there and Facebook asked me what I was thinking. And I told
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, well, if you really want to know what I'm thinking right now is not really cool. And I went into the different aspects of things that I saw that were being pushed. And I first I went and I asked, is this a buyout or a bailout for the government? I asked about, has consideration been given to the social, the environmental, all the other factors that can be considered, the political, sovereignty. So there were about 7 points. And then there was a town hall. And during the town hall, there was another presentation that was made by the government at the time. And what about that matter? And I said, well, I don't quite understand what is being said about that, because it seemed as if persons came hoping that they can just have some checklists and then decide, well, these are what we met with these people. Yes, check, check, check. And then we heard the interaction is good to it. Based on that, my thinking of what transpired was simply a case of dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and making sure there are necessary conditions and there are sufficient conditions. And they wanted to meet a necessary condition. But in my mind, it was not sufficient, because I do not think that the people had a clear understanding. And when they were asked, are you with this? They said no. And the person who was the public relations mouthpiece of the developers, who happened to be a leader of the government side, said that at that point in time, they, you know, saw it as a yes. When people say no, they say yes. So, but I don't know if it was the song I was listening that on the radio say, when Jesus say nobody can know, or whatever it was. I mean, probably I got it, get things mixed up, you know what I mean? Don't get it twisted with me. Listen, I just say whatever my back, don't vex with me. I'm just saying that that's what I got. But anyway, we got around to a little bit later now. I realized that people keep saying, and I keep hearing the people who are the public relations arm of the developers making this statement that, you have four seasons and you have destiny. And I decided that, given my knowledge of my history and the knowledge of economics, I thought that what I needed to do was to give the people a sense of that. And so somewhere around the 6th of March, I decided to put another post, which is the post that I think that, where I said, the future of Nevis, our destiny or the destiny of others. And that was the name of the post that I had. And basically what I sought to do is to give a critical analysis of Nevis's development models, paths, and I looked and I said, let me simplify it, because what I try to do is that Banky has always said that he wants things. His daughter might be 7 now, because at that time he said he wanted to be simple enough that his 6-year-old daughter can understand what he's saying. And so what
Yes,
I
sir.
would like to do is to make sure that, I said Nevis is at a crossroad, grappling with the development models that may not serve the long-term interests of our people. And this analysis, what I presented, I said I'm going to look at two contrasting models. And I call one of them the Destiny business model, and the other I call the Four Seasons model. And then what I started to do is to say, I said the Destiny, when I looked at the Destiny model versus the Four Seasons model, I look at the Four Seasons model first, and I said, what I saw with the Four Seasons model was it from its origins. It was established by a group of capitalists because we are all dealing in a capitalist environment, and these capitalists had a clear profit motive, and so that was not anything that was any secret to any one of us who were looking at when Four Seasons got started, but what it was also, it was part of the classical formulation of foreign direct investment. So you had foreigners come in and directly put in their money into this country for the benefit of the country. And so what they told us over 35 years ago is that they will bring job opportunities, they will bring foreign exchange, and they will act. And what I have seen for myself is that Four Seasons has acted and has been a very good incubator for tourism best practices, thereby benefiting Nevisians directly. So that's what I saw from that model. The other thing I saw, the key benefits were the long-term sustainable employment with a 35-year track record. No one can say from 800 at peak periods to down to a couple hundred even after a hurricane, that Four Seasons has not been a net contributor to our economic development. And so that was my thing. And I said that, so we have seen Four Seasons as a major contributor, and that was the fundamental in a succinct form. Then I went on to look at the Destiny business model, which I just can best characterize based on the how so much was being hidden, so much is veiled, so much is double speak. So I refer to it as a risky and opaque experiment. Because if they're saying that they're going to come and deal with us as the first line, for the first time, they're going to do that here, and they're going to make us whatever they say. And I said that, I don't really like that. So what I said is that the Destiny model appears to be heavily reliant on foreign funding with a non-transparent process involving land acquisition. So here you have capitalists, yes, and they say they said they're funding. But then when we look at it, we are understanding it's CBI shares funding. So you're borrowing my watch to tell me the time, and then for land acquisition. So you're borrowing a pipe, we're going and do hog meat. And then you come back and sell me hog meat, or what you want to do to me. I'm not clear as to what that was. So it's not the lack transparency. And the thing that I didn't like about it is that in this case of Four Seasons, it was replacement. One capitalist for another one, a single capitalist for a large block of land. The only thing that's single about that is that you have a single broker. And I don't want to say too much more of that because I think that's well ventilated. But that is where the opacity, that is where its non-transparency hits me. And so what I said, while it's marked as a large-scale operation, from the AI-driven development plan that I saw, where the sun was setting in the east and things like that, all about it. If you just did just an analysis, you would see a lot of crazy things that were happening from that. The development plan, it remains unclear whether the model can develop on its promises of tourism growth and sustainable points for local communities. That was my concern. My concern was that I was not seeing, and maybe my simple mind, you understand, wasn't able to go up to that place where the AI can confuse me about sun setting in the east and so forth. And then concerns. such as the other thing that I said is that the uncertain funding and the reliance on the citizen by investment programs rather than sustainable foreign direct investments. Now that was what I feel. When anybody is gonna tell me about comparing, you must compare apples and oranges. Are contrasting because one is coming from a place where they're coming with their money in their pocket, and the other person is coming asking me how much money I have in my pocket. I show them in my hand. They take it out my hand, put it over on their side, and then say, "See all of these money? I have all of these money over here, and this is what I'm going to use to take care of that thing over on your side." And so, what is opportunity of landowners through land pooling for developers? I didn't like that. The land that was there was one big pool. So you have one was displacement, pooling of the lands, displacing several people. Whereas in the case of Four Seasons, it was just a replacement of one capitalist for another with one person's land because it was one company, whether the Penny Company or the Dumas Company, buying a large swath of land. So that was the kind of thing I was looking at. And so then I decided that I do not want to spend a lot of time talking about them because I have a homegrown option, which I think that if our people were working together, Ubuntu style, that we could make this thing happen just like the Ethiopian did for the dam. And so I said, this one model is called the empowerment model, which is a model driven by Nevisians and their fellow men, women, people, young people across the diaspora. And that will put the power and the resources in the hands of the people, ensuring that the profits remain local and the long-term growth is guaranteed. There's no way I think that I will be the best for their family here. Whomsoever the persons are from, the destiny and thing like that, they do not, the full has never been told. So what is happening is that I don't know what their end game is. And the planning horizon that I saw on the AI generated was only 10 years. So what happened after the 10 years? After they're going to just take everything and run with it? What, or you would have killed out everybody in Nevis who ain't look like them? I don't understand. What I do know is what I've seen with Four Seasons. And what I'm saying I'm willing to bet my dime on is a homegrown system where sustainability, it would focus on climate resilient infrastructure, environmental responsibility, and economic diversification, all while preserving the island's natural biodiversity and our cultural heritage. What I'm saying is that I do not see all those dimensions in the destiny thing. I see an economic dimension, but I do not see the cultural dimension and I don't see the biodiversity dimension, other than to call a very big name person who does some dealing with biodiversity. So that those were some of the concerns and so forth. And so I have different suggestions, but I'd like to take a break now so that, I mean, if you have any questions.
Well, I must say that I like the fact that you didn't just critique, but you also offer a possible alternative, a possible alternative solution, because this is one of the critique that I've been hearing also from the Premier, who you mentioned is one of the openly public PRO persons for the Destiny project. One of the things he has been saying is that, well, a lot of people are saying that they're not for the project, but they're not proposing or presenting any alternatives. And so I would have heard a bit of that from you just a moment ago in your presentation. Now, how does the Destiny SSZ align or conflict with the Nevis Special Sustainability Zone Act? And what clarity is needed on land use and public access?
But you see, the thing about it is we work in a lot of darkness. I do not think that a lot of the specific dimensions have not been dealt with. And that's one of the reasons why I do not get into SSZ, because SSZ have legal language and legal four corners of the law that I don't know about. But what I can tell you is that my feelings as a Nevisian and my solution as a Nevisian, the people can relate to that if I go into detail, which I'm going to go now and go into some greater detail to tell you why. We find ourselves in this country right now, and the premier or the prime minister, no one can say no to that, where we've been running deficit budgets. The second thing we do, we have high debt rate. And because we have an extremely high debt burden on the country, what tends to happen is that somebody somewhere has got to find the resources. You understand? Somebody somewhere have got to find the money able to take us out of that place. So, and in order to take us from that place, um, things. The first thing I'm suggesting is that it be a homegrown option. So if I were to be asked, so what is your alternative? My alternative is a much painless alternative. But my alternative is an inclusive alternative. My alternative speaks to empowering all of our people, from the child to our local who are in a yard and those who are abroad across diaspora. Here how I propose. What we find is that you have a 600 to 700 million debt overhang on the country. If you take that 700 million, you understand, 600 million, and you have a population of, let's say, to make it easier, let's say we have 15,000 people in the country. But I'm just making it easy for that. So it's 15 and 3 zeros. Okay? And 17 million is 17 and 6 zeros. So if you move 6 zeros, you get 3 zeros. So then you divide that 17 with 3 zeros over 15. And so you see the indebtedness of 60 over 15. So you're saying that from the person who just take their first breath of life at the hospital, coming in at the 15,000 person or 600 million, it's a $40,000 debt burden for that person. So, and the people between 16 and 62, which is the productive age range, they are the ones who are going to have to do that, which means, therefore, it's not 40,000, but it's some huge figure. Now, can you think of how we are going to be able to do that? Each person be able to, from the little of economics that I know, is that just like you had 4 seasons between 1988, it was 1988 until 1990, they had 2 years where everybody in this country who wanted a job, whether you had a pickaxe, a shovel, a backhoe, a truck, a carpenter, anything, you had full employment because there was work enough for everybody. And at that same time, right at West Haven Hotel, there were 94 people from Trinidad and Tobago, tradespersons who were living there. So it meant that the people here would not get vexed, because what we were seeing there is that we were having full employment and we were having more people brought into the country because we did not have all the skills that were required for that. So here you have a situation. They come into this country and they are contributing. And some of them have gotten children and now have children who are less than 35 years of age, who are part of the productive economy here because they mix and mingle with our people. Their culture was similar because they came from countries, Jamaica. And so right now we have foreign persons, other CARICOM member states, individuals from almost every country that lives here in Nevis that would have come because of Four Seasons, as a direct relation to Four Seasons, to make a contribution. What I can say also is that because we have that heavy debt burden and so forth, what is happening right now is that the people who are managing the country need to get some sustainable way to generate full employment, reduce the significant unemployment, reduce the problem that we have so many people coming out of high schools that are not going to be able to do that, reduce the problem that we do not have a very good mix of the people who are ready to go directly into the tourism sector at a skilled level, because most of the people who are coming out of school are not skilled. And so, if you're going to go into the tourism sector, you're going to find yourself lower down on the totem pole than management jobs and supervisory jobs. You're going to be going in at the labor jobs. So, what we're saying is that a lot of that can be solved. And a lot of that can be solved because government is taking too many, trying to carry too much of a burden, both in St. Kitts and in Nevis. The federal government, if you look at it, the payload for the amount of persons that are working in the civil service and in the other boards and branches, it's significant. And there's no way that they should do that. What I proposed is that in Nevis, because the biggest user of electricity is also the biggest debtor, the one that is the most delinquent, I am suggesting that the government should try to sell some shares of the Nevis Nevlec, privatize Nevlec, 50% government, 50% this, so you can get some diaspora people, some of those people in America who have the 401k and Trump getting on with all these things that he's doing right now, that they can send some of their money, buy some shares here. So I propose that 50% be privatized of Nevlec and also the water department. And then when you do that, the government pays its water bill. So you don't finish cutting off my people bill. You're telling me about that sort of thing. I do not wish to see that. I do not want to see a situation where you have, I mean, you're calling me and you're disconnecting my bill and you're charging me $150 or $100. You understand? I mean, those are things that are punitive on the people. You understand? So what I'm suggesting is that pay your bill, you pay your water bill, and you pay your electricity bill, and you let the finances that are generated from the part privatization of the water system and the part privatization of the electricity system to go into the consolidated fund, and then you see a better way in paying off the people. You can recruit people from the diaspora to come and put them in jobs, and then you can develop a meritocracy where you don't have to say, well, it's just your people in your party that are going to get these sub jobs. You can then say, listen, you send out a request for proposal or letters of interest, invite them. When Prime Minister Mitchell got into power in Grenada, he said that all boards in the country, people have to apply for them. And it's not going to be for just the people. It says it would be done that each bank, each board, or whatever boards there are, the people and the best qualified people would be then recruited, because he wants to give himself arm's length away from that. And so what I'm saying is that if we were to get a certain amount of money from privatizing electricity, a certain amount from privatizing water, I need some more money, because we are using right now, we have a situation where we are presently using a lot of overdraft. And overdraft is a very expensive form of borrowing from your people, because the monies that you are borrowing from are from the shareholders who are in the National Bank or the Bank of had shares they won't mind because they're telling themselves, well, listen, I bought some shares in the water department for my daughter, and then this other person bought some shares in the water department for their son. And this person we might call it a Nevis development bond. And if you have a $60 million Nevis development bond, we have so many people in the diaspora. We have some people out there right now who would be willing to put in 50,000 US dollars out of their 401k into something like that. And if you did something like that using fractional banking, because when we speak about fractional banking, we're talking about capital adequacy, which means if you put $10 in the bank, you can lend $100. So if you got $60 million from shares sold for electricity, from the bond, and you got 15 million from the sale of the water department, and 15 million sold from the electricity department, you will have 90 million. So that means you have access to $900 million worth of borrowing. You have some liquidity there. And if you take all of the local contractors and anybody who needs to work here have to go through the local contractors and be certified with them to be able to get the jobs and so forth, then you would be other people. And then what I am suggesting is you do a whole transformation. So all those costs overrun with health issues and so, I'm not suggesting that you go and put new paint on old buildings like what's happening in town. I'm suggesting that what you do some new things that are state of the art and state of the times. So right now, there's environmental degradation. They will be responsive to use of renewable energy. They will be responsive to the biodiversity, using real tamarind tree them, just like what used to be in the yard when I went to school in boys' school. Using all mango trees and all. Banky can help them with 40 different types of mango tree and put them throughout the different parts of the country, because the Taiwanese has a model that show you what goes best where in this country. And so then when these sort of things happen, I think that it is important that you do these sort of things, and then you come with a new homegrown system, a homegrown financial paradigm, a homegrown responsiveness to nature, a homegrown responsiveness to biodiversity, a homegrown responsiveness to lifting your people from being savers, according to what the governor of the central bank, who was my last boss, you understand, when I advised him, that he said that, listen, the big push requires that we rely only on ourselves to survive roots. So what I am saying is that we have to get summer leaves, summer branches. I'm saying that we should get back to the roots. Talk to me.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, I love how you actually give suggestions. You're not just critiquing, but you're also seeking to provide suggestions that can be and should be implemented. Could you elaborate? Yes, sir.
I wanted to say, because I spoke to also another PRO, Mr. Scarborough. I run into him up there by MEMS, and we had a little discussion last week, and he said there's one thing wrong with the project. And then he also said it on his podcast when he told me, saying this person is almost like a record. I say, what do you mean? No, there's no project that don't have no kind of flaws. So why would this one even have nothing? Even the EIA, you will have some kind of degradation going on, but if it balances out, you mean nothing at all? And then he further went along and said, well, I did tell the head PRO, that to tell these people forget about this project here and just do a regular project. But even to us, I said, well, you can come on my show and speak about these things. I mean, can we shake your hand? But then it's leading to, we can develop our land ourselves. And that's the model I fit with. You design it, your people build it, and that's it. Because you'd have a more interest, and not just, and yet you come in with no money in your pocket. You're using our resources So I mean, we just beat it at dead horse. I mean, come on, we got to be better than that. We keep saying we're so brilliant, and yet we. Upon that, I still heard. I mean, I ain't been challenged yet because I mentioned this to Mrs. Scarborough that the Penny's estate, right up to Mount Travelers, all that land have been sold. You realize they're clearly new and doing it. So that's a large amount of land there. Again, we really have to have something in place where when you have these things, the government have to put a hold on the government should at least hold on these land and I'll let local people purchase this land. We're just, I mean, come on, so we're dealing with this destiny. We still deal with the next Penny's thing. We have silent, nothing about it. Nothing about that land there and that land being sold. And I stand to be corrected. Who told me that? I know they know exactly what they're saying. So Danny have the right aspect as a native and want the best for Nevis and for St. Kitts, but at the same time, we have been divided. We have Team Jesus and then Team Barabbas. So I mean, if you do not support this project, where you have so much hidden agenda in it. So right now, you see, if I'm gonna do a development, why am as the owner or the person doing the project not even an island? I mean, this doesn't make no sense. So right, that alone, you know, you genuinely don't have an interest in the love of being around the people. Because you're just not even showing up.
But what I said about that, Banky, was when I was at the discussion which we had for the persons at the civil society, I pointed out at the point in time that if those persons started to buy property here since 2017, we had COVID in 2020 to 2022. I am saying that if they were of a mind that they wanted to be like Mr. Anderson, who used to be up Jessup, you understand? Or they wanted to be like Miss Roby and those people. Or they wanted to be like Norman Fowler. Or they wanted to be like Miss Swift or Anthony Horner. Here and decided that they wanted to be a part of it, you know, of this country, and they wanted to contribute to it and live in a safe space, they could have done that. But they decided that even when we people going through all of that, they had no interest in helping us during COVID. So I'm saying they had no good intention in my mind, and that is my done, is that I've made sure that I am telling you what is my perspective. I did not wait and wet my finger to see where the wind is blowing from. I do not agree with the PRO people, what they're saying. I think they're trying to put confusion in the minds of people. And if you do not agree with them, they talk down to you. And I'm saying to them, talk up to me. Because I'm saying to you that I believe that just like when we had the people with their pennies coming in and bringing the credit union to a place right now where they have over 7,000 members, it's homegrown. The Bank of Nevis, homegrown. Seabridge, homegrown. There are a lot of things that we have here. The people don't have no place to run to go, so they have to well up and fix up and make it work here. I am saying to you, my brothers and sisters, I do not wish for anybody to try to confuse me, to tell me what is best for me. What I know is best for this country is that when the water runs down through the gullies, that it comes down there, and that we do not use too much chemicals, fertilizer, fossil fuels don't get leaked and everything like that. And people throw oil that they clean from vehicles in the guts. Want us to have clean and comfortable. And how can you be comforted? I think the people at Four Seasons decided they wanted to come and work with us in our space. They allow a road to go through them. Every day people from Nevis drive through Four Seasons. They don't even know or they don't even care that they're going through Four Seasons. And if anything goes with that road, season, fix it and keep it working. I am saying to you, my brothers and sisters, people who are listening to me, I do not have an axe to grind. I have a country that I want to see preserved. And what I'm saying is that I think right now it's not too late, and I'll be willing to see if our people can have a consortium of local financiers let us pool our lands together so we can get the base capital, so that we can then decide that we can have a transformative program for the development and growth of this country. I am of the view that this thing is a bailout. I think it's a bailout because of a non-performance. And I will say to you tonight, I don't talk, as a student of economics, I speak about the environment. What I have seen is a Nevis that has gotten smaller, where a lot of businesses have closed, where the private sector has gotten smaller. I have seen a Nevis where a lot of people who say things have properties that were once very productive, and those lands are not being used to the greatest usage. Jesus and put it under the table and didn't use it. I'm seeing a lot of that, and I think the talent should be taken away and given to people who can use it. I feel that what happens here right now is that people have the good graces of our people. People have come and say, listen, give this person a chance. Let this person represent you. Then the person doesn't perform, and they say, give them another chance. And they non-perform, and they continue. Then they say, give them a bigger chance, give them a bigger hand, so that they can argue for equity and equality. And the thing about it, and then there's no delivery. And all you're doing is a tax and spend situation. Tax and spend. And then what I'm saying, where is the commensurate growth? There are persons and so forth who come and explain and so forth, and explain to some degree that yes, you can see some of the money in that road, you can see there's some money in that wall, you can see some of the money in that fence, yes. But what we are saying is that we need what we call rounded development. We need to see roads develop. We need to see the capacity of our people develop. We do not want to see our people running out of our country when they reach fifth form or sixth form to another country to help build the capacity in that country. We want to make it as embracing as possible, that persons can come and that they do not feel that because they're not of a particular political ilk, that they is not going to get anything. Somebody is here saying that Pedro Jamati said the private sector getting smaller. Is the public sector getting smaller too? I say no. I say that the public sector is getting bigger selectively based on preference. Need to do is to build capacity in our people. Help us to be able to develop capacities to invest. Help us to develop capacities to do like Banky, go down in Indian Castle and transform the land space so that you can provide food for the school kitchens rather than have to pay a voucher to one of the places. I'm not going to business places and things like that. Get the people, the young children, and I always bow and salute my brethren Teddy, who died, and so Black Man, because Black Man was one of the persons who would come to my farm and collect the golden apple, the cucumbers, and the other fruits, 5 fingers, and he make drink, because his mission was to make sure that the young children got fresh things for them to drink. Listen, we're talking about holistic development for this country, my brethren. I am not here. I have no other interest other than as an agriculture advocate than leadership by example. I am the pioneer for hydroponics in this place, and I've seen other people come and do a better job than myself, and I'm happy for that. Because as I tell you, the King James Version said that he that cometh after is mightier. And so I welcome that. But what I want to say is that I want to see that we sow seeds that not seeds of sorrow, but seeds of development and seeds of transformation in this little country. And maybe I'm talking too much, so let's stop.
No, man, you're doing wonderful. It's not talking too much. When you're talking, is me recognizing that you do have a passion for the country, for the development of the country. You do have a passion for agriculture. You do have a passion for the work that you do. And like us, you're kind of preaching to the choir, because that's Banky and myself where that is concerned. So what we're going to do, though, is we're going to use this time to take a little break. When we come back, we're going to go through some of the comments, and then we're going to open up the line for calls, and then we're going to continue with the discussions. There are a couple of other questions that I have for you on the same topic, and also in relation to agriculture and the future of agriculture and small businesses on St. Kitts and Nevis. And so I am hoping that our technician is ready, and if the technician is ready, then we will take a break at this moment, and then we will be back shortly with continuing with our edition of a special edition of the Topics here on Real Entertainment Network. I want to encourage you folks who are listening to as well, those who are locked on via, whether it's via Facebook or YouTube or Twitch TV, take a minute, go on over to the YouTube platform, subscribe to the channel, click on the notification bell so that you're informed every time we have a program here on Real Entertainment Network. So we want to encourage you to do that. I am hopeful that our technician is ready. So technician, if you're ready, take us out for the break, and then we will be back shortly. Okay, seems as if the technician is not ready yet. So what I will do then in the interim, while we get the technician ready, I'll probably go through some of the comments that we have on the Facebook wall. I figure when the technician is ready, the technician is going to give me a signal. I'm going to see something pop up on the screen that shows me that he is behind the scenes and ready to take us out of here. In the meantime, though, let's go through some of the comments on the Facebook wall. We have on the Facebook wall, we have Cheech Wana saying, "Yes, I blessed." We have Kevin Hanley saying, "Good night, guys." Greetings, Kevin. He says, "Happy Good Friday." We have Woodland Hill saying, "Good night to my three loving cousins." Woodland Hill. Good evening, Woodland Hill. We have Chichwan again saying, "Yes, Danny, we'll talk." And I think my technician is ready, so we'll save the rest comments until we come back after the commercial break. So, Danny, thank you. We'll be back with the calls and the comments in just a bit. So, technician.
Beat the summer heat. Come and get your carambola, star fruit, make very nice drink. Come pick them yourself. All the trees them full of vitamin C, antioxidant, build up your immune system. Mine's the last stop. A whole shopping bag for only $10. Half a shopping bag you pay $5. If you get $2, you must get some. Come get your carambola. Don't want to go to wait. Let's go, people.
At Shabazz Organics, we believe real people deserve real food. So we're bringing you to Mansa's Last Stop, a farm where food barriers are removed and legacy is sustained. We believe there's power in picking, so we allow you to decide what leaves the farm and enters your kitchen organically.
People need to start paying attention to what is happening, because when you step back and look at the pattern, this is no longer coincidence. Rastafarian farmers are being told to register. They are being invited to government-promoted events.
There's actually a booth again where We have some display of medical cannabis also that will be on display.
They are being encouraged to participate. And then some of the same people are being arrested and
When
charged.
comfort, class, and reliability matter, choose the ride that delivers more. Imperial Rides Transportation Services, where every journey is treated like royalty, from airport transfers, private events, shopping trips, island tours, and executive travel. Imperial Rides moves you in style, clean, comfortable, on time, every time. Book your premium taxi or tour service today. Call or WhatsApp 869-665-8459 or email elandflavas@gmail.com. Imperial Rides Transportation Services. Your journey, our priority.
And we are back with the other half of this edition of the Topics, our exclusive edition of the Topics here on this Friday evening. For some, it's Good Friday. For some, it's Bad Friday because, especially in Jamaica, this was the day when Bustamante rounded up all of the Rastafari brethren in Jamaica and would have sought to decide that who can't fit in the prison, would end up at the morgue, at the cemetery. And so for those Rastafari elders and brethren, on this day, they do not celebrate Good Friday, they celebrate Bad Friday based on their atrocities. Also, as we continue, I want to say good evening again. I want to encourage folks who are logged in to go on over to our YouTube platform, click on the notification bell, subscribe, like, share, and make sure that you're informed every time we have a program here on Real Entertainment Network. I want to continue with some of the comments. We have Oli Gem saying they should have start to get involved with Nivision donkey years ago. They never invest in a hospital or sponsoring the less fortunate to get overseas medical care. They never invested in any major projects on island. It's about time we benefit something. They always want to come with their ring suits and empty briefcases and use our CBI money, and we locals can't get access to it. When last an investor came here and used their own money, all of them come and get full access to our money. Same CBI program their country is trying to kill, they're getting access to. So that's the comment from Wally Gem. And we move on over to the YouTube platform, and we have Spider Flick saying greetings. We have Carlisle Paris saying the people of Nevis said no, no, no to destiny, loud and clear. Ali Jeffers says we have seen a lot of white elephants across the island that started and were totally reliant on CBI. Destiny is no different. Oliver Leibert says, hi, good night, just coming in. Banky, Yasan, and Daniel.
Yes, sorry. Greetings.
Says, good night, Banky, Yasan, and to you, Mr. Arthurton. Glad to be with you this evening from Atlanta. We have Jim that says, greetings, some dry wood. And I guess that was to the comment when Danny was saying, some, but we got to get back to the roots. I guess he was adding to the Peter Tosh lyrics there. C. Gaskell says, this is an excellent proposition. Homegrown, home-owned. All citizens should be shareholders in Nevlec and therefore shareholders of geothermal energy. Burl B. Jones says, please let us know when the lines are open. So Burl B. Jones, the lines are open, 1-869-662-7196, 1-869-662-7196. That's the number to call if you want to get in on the program. Pedro Gemat, I think Danny would have read out that comment already. Private sector getting smaller. Is the public sector getting larger too or smaller? And I think Danny would have responded to that already. Natural Mystic says, not. Okay, well, I'm not sure what that it is saying. Bobby Jones says, this guest should keep saying who he is and where he gets his knowledge. His WhatsApp contact number where people can find him from where did you guys find him? So happy he's on tonight. Sigaskell says, yes, Burl, I have no problem with elders being involved in charting the way forward for development. They have more to give and are less likely to be focused on self-serving interests. Wisdom is earned. Natural Mystic says, good night, Danny. You're educating us who don't understand the system and capitalize on what is due to us. Thanks again, Danny, for your teachings. Real entertainment. Tap into Danny more often. So, Danny, as we continue, the message is loud and clear. The people are saying that they love what you're bringing to the platform, and they're actually even asking us to tap into you some more, to bring you on the platform more regularly. We want to say yes, that we are open to your calls, and we do as much as possible try to respond to your comments as they come in here on the platform, because if we don't have you, whether it's via the comments and or the calls, we would be technically here talking to ourselves. So we do appreciate when you do make your comments and when you do call in. Danny, I want to follow up with something that you would have written about and get a little bit of clarity on it. Could you elaborate on the crypto colonialism, risk that you highlighted, and how might Nevis ensure projects like Destiny benefit locals over outsiders? So elaborate on the crypto colonialism risks that you highlighted in one of the articles that you spoke to, and how might Nevis ensure projects like Destiny benefit locals over the outsiders?
Well, first of all,
You're
I do
muted,
not.
and
My mic
I
is
could hear
muted.
him. I can hear him.
You can hear me.
for some reason I'm not hearing you. So
I
tap
can
in.
hear
You're
you.
hearing me now, Banky? Can you
I
hear
hear you
me?
all the time.
Go ahead. My bad. With my volume down. My bad. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
No, you go
So
ahead.
what I was saying
Yeah.
is that, my brother, you're asking me something about the crypto. I have finite knowledge on crypto, and I have infinite ignorance when it comes to crypto. So it means that I cannot really contribute very much on crypto. I like to stay in the things that I am competent on. What I say is that because a lot of these people who earned their wealth was from crypto investment, and what happened is that that particular aspect of financing business is very, it's not simple for the average person to go burn some coal and sell and say, well, this is $100 a bag, and they get $100 from which they can buy 10 pounds of rice for X amount of dollars. Crypto is not that simple for someone to explain. And so I beg of you, if you allow me not to put myself in a place where I am swimming in waters that I do not know. But what I do say is those persons who say to us, because we have to trust them, that the money they say they have from this crypto is real, because we have heard from international markets where I do read that crypto has been vacillating, going up and down like a yo-yo, and we do not know whether they will be up on the high or down on the low. What we know is that with the war, the price of oil goes up, and so we pay more for gases. What we do not know is to what crypto is linked. Is it linked to when people are happy with these billionaires are happy with each other, or when one get vexed with the next one, or something like that? I have no clue. And so what I say is that there is a risk that we run because we know so little about it. If we put our eggs in that basket, because we are putting eggs in a basket for which we know very little if the basket will break and when it will.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit, and then let me get into an area that I know that you are very versed in, which is the agricultural sector. So, what is your vision for agriculture's role in Nevis's future, given the challenges like water scarcity and food imports?
Well, I think that, I mean, it's a solid fact. We do over $200 million worth of imports every year. Um, I mean, we have got to decide what we're going to do. I have decided that I was going to take one part of the agriculture segment, that is dark green leafy vegetables, and I decided that since that is in crop, a lot of people feel like, okay, if you can make some money out of lettuce, I can make some money out of lettuce. So you have a lot of persons coming in. When in fact, what we ought to do is to use our diverse knowledge to do several other things. So what I have done is that I have shifted. Instead of having my land space in vegetables, expanses of vegetables, what I have done is that I have decided to put in place a lot of fruit trees and non-traditional fruit trees. For example, I have invested heavily in guava. So I have planted several different species of guava. And I have planted some coconut trees. And I have different types of mango. Then one of the other things that I have planted, which I'm very proud of, is the avocado trees. And what I do is that I do selection by I go to a person's stall, and I go down by Banky's, Shoppers, or whatever, Monsters One Stop, and I see a beautiful avocado there. I buy the avocado, I eat it, I seed, and I decide to go from seed. So I look at my selection, and then I will plant that into my orchard. And so 5, 6 years later, I probably would have, I mean, one of that particular type of avocado. And so what I've done, and what I have realized, is that I have planted a few exotics like mansiport and sweet tamarind, and people keep asking me, oh, so how can I get some of that? So what I think I realize also is that I've created some microclimate, because the place has been very, very dry. People ask, why is it St. Kitts used to get so much rain when cane was falling? And it don't happen now. They're simple. You plant a grass. If you look at lemongrass or elephant grass or any grass, what happens to it is that the older leaf die and then the younger leaf comes. What happens is that older leaf causes a lot of organic matter to stay in the soil, because St. Kitts have a sandy soil. When the rain fell, the organic matter get plugged into the topsoil, and so it made it also covered the topsoil, so the microbes that are there continue to live and thrive. What I have found is that when I plant, these fruit trees, 30 feet and that what they cover, the earth, so the wind blowing over it, there's less evaporation, so you have more water retention, more microbes. Bank, you with me? I can see you shaking
Yes,
your
sir.
head. I might be saying something right.
Yeah, man, same thing. Yeah, man, same
And so we
vibe,
make
same
sure that we
energy.
keep the organic matter in the topsoil.
Yes, sir.
And instead of and that can be plowed back in and things like that. And so that microclimate, it enables you to do that. But to answer your question, is that because we have this thing, I am suggesting that persons decide on something that they're good at, and not try to say because somebody get a big banky, get a good pickup full of melon, everybody going and plant melon. Because what that will do is push down the price of melon, and then banky in his wisdom will say, but I ain't gonna plant melon because it makes sense for me to put in all this work and only get $1 for a pound of melon. I go in and do cantaloupes, and then somebody say, oh, bank, we make money out of cantaloupes, so you come and do cantaloupe. What I'm suggesting is that identify a crop and plant enough of it, and plant it sequentially. So if you look and it takes 6 weeks for you to sell off your melon, you plant some melon seeds, and you plant the next set of melon seeds 4 weeks after, and 4 weeks after that you plant at week 4, and then at week 8 you plant the next set of melon seed, and then you will have 3 crops. So you don't plant out the whole area in melon, but you will have a stream of income coming in, and you will have melon to give people every week, rather than have a lot of melon and they say, Banky, you them sweet melon that you brought last week and so forth. I mean, we could get any more. Well, I got to plow the land and wait in the government tractor. No, 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 no. What I'm saying is this how the Nevis goes when Mansa was a part of it and all those folks and so forth, and Empty and Daniel and all them. What we did at different places, people put in different quantities of stuff so that we can reliably supply the Four Seasons Resort with 6 items. And so what I'm suggesting, that we probably start with 6 items that we can best substitute and that are presently being imported from, the United States or elsewhere. And I'm also suggesting, and I said that to a dear friend of mine, that I think we spend a lot of time buying a lot of sugar and salt stuff from Trinidad and those places, but we probably should go to the Dominican Republic and get stuff there, because their income, their money, there's a bigger population, the cost of production of things there, you get a wider variety, and we bring things from there that we can probably use here. So, in terms of complementing that which we have. So I think that and you asked me what I think about how we can do something about it, is I think we need to build the capacity. Right now, Nevis has a department that has a lot of skilled people, but the skilled people are administrators. The director is a plant protection or expert. The thing about it is that, you have other plant protection people. You have 2 things that are happening. Persons are making allegations that there are people in agriculture who are competing with the farmers and whatever it is. They must understand whether that is real or imagined. What I'm saying is that what needs to happen is that we need to have the different tiers of individuals who can build capacity, so that the extension officer, like Banky said, he was an extension officer that had that them stepwise, from selection of seeds, sowing of the seeds, transplanting of the seeds, managing the crops, harvesting the crops, post-harvest marketing, value addition, which you always speak about. I'm suggesting that what we need to do is that we need to build a capacity. But first, we need to have a cogent plan, and the agricultural transformation. When the FAO did it, it's a 2022 to 2031 agricultural transformation and growth strategy, and it speaks to building the capacity of our people over time and have a pipeline of people. And if the government were to have some of the estates that we have, that they have persons who contribute to them, then we can, the students that are coming out of school, they can go on some of these government estates and help, and some of the money go back into the school feeding program, and those children who help get money for their tuition, for paying for their exams, for paying for their uniform, and to get something to start an investment, maybe buy some shares in the electricity department.
Yes, son. Let me say this, right? And for those who listen to the sound of my voice and listen to Danny, we have all this expertise around here, and yet we just keep the food import bill going up and going up because people like Danny is not being utilized. You see? Why a man like him is not there putting policies, and policies are being followed with the infrastructure put in place, where these things is what he's saying can exist, They chose not to exist. You see? When culture come 100 million or 20 million for money to spend to fix up and paint up whatever and add some more containers or whatever, but you now find $1 million or $2 million far to find to go into a capital project for agriculture. These are the issues we have in a Virgin. Anyone can listen to Danny speak for a whole week, every day, and these things. But if they're going to listen and put these things into place, because they can find resources to do to do other stuff, but they're not going to find it for agriculture. We keep sending all our money outside and building up America and other places. Danny just said you can source other stuff in a more in more capacity at cheaper and more to choose from too. He giving you places you can get this thing to add to our product, It's every stage this man talking about in a Virgin. And that is why when this man speak, people listen, because he's speaking things that is tangible. He wants the best for the development of his people. But if we're going to have the people in position, not going to listen to these things that is tangible, you can't just talk. We're good at talking, but we're good at doing things too if the resources is there. People just got to choose the crop they want. Don't watch other farmers. Choose just a few crops and that's it. And work on those crops. It's better than harvesting 2 crops or 3 crops than harvesting nothing at all, At least a man know. Boy, we can always get this from this boy, yeah. Always. Even if it's cassava alone. That's just what it is. But we got to come better than this. We got to start put people in the right places and give them the tools to work with and give them a team. In no way that it should not be advising the federal cabinet and the NIA and others like him. But they got to listen. You can't micromanage people like that. Give them the tools and things will get done. We give away money to outside the house. We get them a billionaire, but they have it. They're still in passport. But we gotta be better than this. What this gentleman is speaking about, we developing our own natural resource ourselves and be the owners of it. Who don't want that? Who don't want that? Who listen to these things? He talking about selling shares and bonds and privatize development. Sell some of the shares into the banking system as you speak about. Help your people to grow and become wealthy, and that's how you change generation and build generational wealth. He's not talking about himself, He's talking about everyone. Those who are local in the diaspora, ones who are indigenous. This is what he's speaking about. These things are simple sentiments that genuinely that echoes to each of us who are natives. And this is the same we're speaking about. Go ahead, your son.
No, Banky. Well, I was just about to say, like I'm saying all evening, I am loving the fact that Danny is not just, critiquing the things that needs to be done. He is actually giving suggestions, putting out ideas out there, and as you mentioned, it's just for us to take it up. In some cases, it can be those at the helm. In some cases, it just need for us as a people to come together, because he spoke to issues where us in the diaspora can come together and put together certain funding that we could then use, lobby and I guess even get access to even greater funding as a result and so on. So he is giving the solutions. It is up to us as a people to take heed, and I am hopeful that a lot of what is being said this evening do not fall on deaf ears, because we're at a time, as we look at what is going on with the geopolitics of things, a lot of what is suggested is more than an emergency for us at this point, where it is not a if we should be taking these things into consideration and taking actions, but it is a when are we really going to do so? And if we don't get that sort of level of leadership from those who we are hiring via elections, who we elect to represent us, if they're not willing to take on these things, we're going to have to find some ways and means of taking the bulls by the horns, whether it is by, as Danny would have had experience with, cooperatives and, developing cooperatives and groups and so on. If we have to get back to that and be able to do our own thing, maybe some of that is what is going to be necessary as we move forward. The numbers to call is still 1-869-662-7196. And we want to continue to encourage you to, as you're listening, all who are logged on this evening, take 10 seconds, go on over to the YouTube platform, click on the notification bell, subscribe, like, and share the link. Natural Mystic says, good night, Danny. You're educating us who don't understand the system and capitalize on what is due to us. Thanks again, Danny, for the teachings, real entertainment. Okay, tap into Danny some more. Okay, sorry. I think we read that before. Pedro Gemot says, how can islands sitting on water become water scarce? I think it's a sustainable development goal. Says Danny doesn't have the same vision as the authoritarians. I guess those who are in authority. Dennis Carter says up, up. And so we continue. Danny, I mean, I am really loving the information that you have provided. The audience as well seemingly is loving the information that you are presenting. And, you know, we're up your alley right now as agriculture is one of your babies as well. How can Nevis scale innovative practices like, you know, what you do at the hydro gardens and such as hydroponics and biodiversity for broader food security? How do you think? What's your vision for that? How can Nevis?
Well, what I do. Well,
Yes, go ahead.
thanks, Yason, and thanks for the kind comments by the people. I mean, what I think I've been doing is that here at the farm, every week we have a Facebook page and people can see that we're working with the young people. Bob Marley say, stiff-necked fools. They believe they're cool. So you see, I don't want to deal with older folks like me who might be, you know, a hard dog to train. You know what I mean?
That's
So I'm
right.
saying, if the children, they come true, and believe me, the interesting notice that I have had is that really a king gets no honor in his own country and in his own house. But over the last 4 weeks, I've had visits from Charles E. Mills, Leon Primary, and I've had from two other schools, Birchall's and another one. So the thing is, out of thinking. Last week I had the Gingerland Secondary, the people for their career day, and I'm open to that. The issue that you're asking about scaling, one of the fundamentals of transformation is scaling through cooperation. So you can only scale if you cooperate. Because Walker's Wood that sell jerk seasoning in Jamaica, it's over 600 growers. People go hot pepper, pimento, different things, and then they bring the products and sell it Walker's Wood sell. And we as a people can do the similar thing. We can come together. I remember when I was a younger person, they had something called the blind school. And what happened is that Nevis had a few blind persons, including Miss Eileen from Gingerland, and people like my
Teacher
name, Mr.
Gladys.
Tota, some other people. And what they did is that those persons came together and they shared their skills. They were blind and they sold baskets, they sold bags, and they even had a building. The building is still up there. I mean, you know, they don't maybe have as many blind persons who use it now, but just to show you that there are things that we have been able to do before, as it was in the beginning, so shall it ever be. And we got to make sure that wherever we have skills, we cooperate so as to scale. In terms of innovation, the only way that can be done, hydroponics requires significant capital outlay. For 40 by 30, it might cost you over $100,000. So the thing about it, you must have a certain amount of money, but it pays back. If you do the accounting, it pays back. So all we can say is that you just got to be willing to pool together and then do it. And then also, if you do a lot of the mixing here in Nevis, you do a lot of the work in Nevis rather than import stuff. You know, you can go.
Okay, Danny, shifting a little bit, but still
Yes.
integrating, Um, what advice do you have for small agricultural businesses in Nevis on accessing funding and markets? One of the reasons I'm asking is because we usually say here on the platform, when we do everything agriculture, we're not short of farmers here on Nevis. We have excellent farmers, but I think we do have a lacking in those farmers being able to transform what they do into a business, understanding it as a business, and being able to some extent get into whether it's the agro processing side of it and or taking the product from the raw material to the value added to the consumer, to the supermarket, to the global market. How do you what would you basically advise small agricultural businesses and Nevis in accessing funding and markets, because those are the two areas that they would need access to, and they would need to have certain skills in order to access the funding as well?
I think that we should use what we have. We have a very excellent agro processing facility. And I think that if a lot more people organize themselves on the production side, what they can do is that they can probably enter into a relationship with the government for their supervision of the use of this space, let's say after 4 o'clock, for doing things like grinding their cassava for making meal and those kind of product. Because I mean, for them to get mills to do the stuff is one thing. So I think that we must use the facilities that we already have. I think we should also use the Lawrence Parry place, and that what we should do is should integrate with what we already have. I'm not one of those persons who tell people that they do anything. I think also we should use the veterinary, the agro processing on the livestock side, because those people, Gary and those guys out there, do an excellent job. Listen, let me, full disclosure, I got my start in agriculture from the Ministry of Agriculture. And I'm going to be like the proverbial woman in the Bible, that when the woman said, cut the child in, said, no, let the child live. So I want to see this agriculture department thrive and thrive. I love what I see. There has been some improvement. I think that there are some lapses, but I'm not here to deal with personalities. I am saying that we have a framework, we have a base. I am saying that they may not want to use somebody like me, but that's fine. But what I'm saying, whatever you do, whoever you use, you need to make sure that the collective get the critical amount of raw material so as to make profitable enterprises out of value added. So it means that you cannot depend on a single person to do certain things, to produce all of the cassava. You cannot for somebody to produce all of the corn. We used to have a corn mill that get fine corn or coarse corn grinding. Tim Halliday used to be the person who would be up there doing it. We were self-sufficient. In this country, every single thing that we were exporting: fish, lobster, crabs, donkey, monkey, cattle, sheep, pigs. The pigs went to St. Kitts. Our local people did that from here. The monkey went down. The animals, horses and cattle, were sold to the French specimen. And the Tyson family, the Carlton and Delta, they were exporting conchs by the 1,000 pounds every week. Conch, lobster, and crab. People used to be, all young fellas used to be down in thing and so forth. So what I'm saying, my brother, is about innovating what we're going to do. We have done a lot of these things before. What you need is a project champion, people who are interested in the common good of the country, that not only doing it for their own personal financial gain. And then you're going to see a multiplier effect. And then you also need project champions who are at the top of the game. It means that the persons who are at the top in agriculture, at the ministerial level and things like that, have got to make sure that, the rubber hit the road in terms of making things happen for the agricultural system.
Okay.
Yes, so we have a call here coming in. If you want me to take this call.
Yes, definitely.
Caller, good evening.
Yeah, good evening to you, gentlemen.
Yes. How are you?
Yeah, I'm on already live, right?
Yeah, you're live.
Okay, yeah, good evening to you, Yasan, and the guests, man. It ain't much that I really want to say. I just want to keep my ears open and keep listening. And I hope everyone listening tonight is listening keenly. And I just want to say thanks to you and Yasan for bringing on this guest tonight. The man hit on so many different areas, man. It will probably take 2 hours, the rest of the night, for us to call in and pick this apart, all his presentation apart. But it was, man, for such a small country, man, it's very disappointing to see that we are failing our citizens. It's very disappointing. For our small population, our small size, is no way we should be failing like this. With all that money, these fellas already got through the CBI program over all of these years. This man is making so much suggestions, like Exxon said. He is also coming with the solutions and proposals from his perspective. And I'm just going to say it, man. Danny, I didn't really get his name correctly because I came on late.
Daniel Arthurton. Daniel Arthurton.
Danny, man.
Yeah, Daniel Arthurton.
Danny, straight to you, man. Man, I thank you for being on tonight. And you are like a financial genius, bro. You touched on every aspect that you could possibly touch on tonight. And all we got to do is digest this information and put this to use and put it to action. Like the people in control of St. Nevis, and I really want to actually speak more about the Nevis side. Man, if anywhere in the Western world supposed to be self-sufficient in food, Nevis. Only 13,500 people. Man, you hear what the Premier keeps saying? This man was getting $66 million from the federal government every year. Man, this stuff is disappointing, man.
Thank you, Carla.
Real quickly before I get off. 4 seasons operated, 35 years already, right? One of the things I believe that the government should have negotiated for 4 seasons to build up that area in the front of Charlestown, the road start from the pier, Hunkins Drive, straight across the Finnish Beach to that Finnish Beach hotel that was there on the corner. That should have been in negotiations. They should have all the years that 4 seasons operated tax-free. The government needs to start taxing these foreign entities and take the load off the local people. The local people is really going through it, really, But they're naive. They don't have the courage, and they don't want to speak up. Man, Banky and Yasan, thanks for having on this guest tonight. And as the callers and the people on the live chat and stuff, if you could bring back this man once a month or whatever, bro, will be greatly appreciated. You need more people like him to come forward and speak up and bring that financial analyst and utterances to us who needs the information and who needs the education. Because the governments of the day, man, they have failed the people. And I'm leaving it there tonight. Thanks a lot, man.
All right, thank you, Carla.
Yes, thank you very much, Carla. And Danny, as you would recognize, you're just getting pure positive feedback for the evening. So if you're wondering if anybody is listening to you this evening, based on the comments, based on the feedback, and even our call just a while ago, it definitely informing you that people are listening, and what you're sharing is definitely not falling on deaf ears. Okay, so Burlby Jones says we are too small of a country, too small of a population to fail. We had the money, and it got mismanaged. We should be in tip-top shape. Cheech Warner says there is a mentality goes with all this. Our people being duped. Look into the sky. Help them see. Jah. Danny, I am really grateful for the opportunity to be here with you and for you to be able to get this opportunity to share and express your thoughts, your views, and some of your visions as we look forward in relation to the destiny, the SSZ, agriculture. We would have gone into a little bit of your visions for small business and small businesses. Mighty
I have a
servants,
message here too.
give thanks for Danny, wise mind. Yeah, go ahead,
I have a
Banky.
message here, Yasan. I have a message here from Atlanta. The person saying they're enjoying the show and the expertise Mr. Daniel is bringing to the Destiny Project, SSZ, and the Four Seasons. Really like he's presenting various aspects, not just how things appear. So you see, people listening, they might not be calling in, but people are very in tune and find he's bringing different aspect how to approach this project and not just a one-sided way, because somebody want this project you're giving them where they're inside there tax-free and we outside here struggling and paying all kind of high taxes and charges, and where they're not doing anything like that. I mean, apparently right now, I mean, the village at Four Seasons, they don't pay taxes. I mean, why these things still exist? And we here paying taxes, and those are exempt from taxes, regardless they're on one set of land. I mean, these are individual homes. So something that I don't know how that's working out, but that don't make no sense to me. And I keep adding and adding.
You know, when Danny started, Danny said, like you said, you keep saying a number of years, when you and us do come on the platform, we try to, whatever topic it is that we are sharing or discussing, we try to bring it to a level where a 6-year-old or 7-year-old can understand it. And one of the things that Danny would have done in terms of explaining and bringing forward his points is seeking to put a perspective on how he sees what has been presented and not presented as well, because we are still shrouded in secrecy where a lot of things are concerned. And so he was left to ask a number of questions based on the information he has and don't have, and put certain things into perspective that would also help us to either delve more deeply into some of the things that he would have presented, or ourselves look into some of the questions that he would have asked and seek for answers to some of those questions for ourselves. And so, Danny, great works, and we I mean, as simple as it is, we have almost, run through these 2 hours. So what I would want to do at this point is give you an opportunity to maybe give a summary, especially for those who may not have been in at the beginning, and any other thing that you may want to add in, as we maybe look at it as a bit of in the wrap-up section. If we get 1 or 2 other calls in between, we would probably accept them before we roll out. In your wrap-up, I think I wouldn't want you to get away without also maybe giving your views and opinion on the cannabis saga that is being around. I know you may have some views and opinions. You may have some information in terms of the Constitution or what it allows or whatever. I don't know how much you know, but if you have an opinion, maybe you could add that into your wrap-up.
Well, I want to thank, Banky.
Your mic is muted, Banky. Your mic is muted.
Yeah, let me take this call one time. Caller, good evening. You're online?
Greetings, Banky.
Yes, you're live.
I listened, I tried to chime in, so.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, so that means I'm behind on this show.
Yes, turn off your
I don't pause. I mean, greetings, everybody. I just wanted to, to join the conversation. I really love the discussion. And Miguel Fleming speaking. And
thanks for calling.
I thought it was important to share my 2 pieces.
Yes.
I'm a student as well. You never stop learning.
Of course.
And so I'm always happy to to listen to Danny Banky and Yasan, because I know all 3 of you are really passionate when it comes to agriculture.
Appreciate it.
And so Danny mentioned something, and I just wanted to make sure that I touch on that. And I think that we just be the most part of my contribution. Danny said the king has no honor in his own country.
Sure.
And so a lot of times we think that we need someone from overseas to come and tell us exactly what to do. And from my own observation, traveling around the world and seeing agriculture all around the world, is that all that we are missing is the enabling environment. I think the farmers them already know how to grow food. They grow food well. We are not perfect, but the enabling environment is not there, right? We need to expand on our storage, shipping and all those type of things, and to be able to penetrate the local market, because that is still a challenge, right? So I just wanted to make mention of that, to touch on the point and just to add to what Danny is saying as it relates to King has no one in his own country.
But Mr. Fleming,
farmers do well.
Why it's difficult to penetrate the local market? Why do you say that?
Because sometimes when you go to the supermarkets, they will tell you, oh, we don't take that from local farmers. And I believe, I don't know what arrangement they have with the wholesalers that they buy from in the United States, but some of the items they just don't want to buy from us, even if we can guarantee some level of consistency.
Yes.
I can remember, for example, Esman, these guys grow a lot of carrots. And we would have made a certain amount of space available for them to store their carrots. But when a certain supermarket would have said, send the sample. We sent the sample, only for them to make an excuse and to say that the carrots are too big. But when you go to the same supermarkets, you see jumbo carrots, right?
Yes.
Being sold, but they don't want to take our carrots. So one of the things we would have proposed, we asked the question, how about you give us a space in the supermarket where we just say local produce? And they said no. You know why they said no? Because they know for a fact that almost every customer who is going to come into the supermarket will just go to the local produce section.
Yes.
Right? And they want to ensure that the produce that they get in from overseas is sold as well. So more needs to be done. We were very close in implementing the animal plant protection bill, where supermarkets, I think we would have discussed before that this happens in Nevis, but it don't happen in St. Kitts at all when it comes to crop stuff, produce. So, most supermarkets just go and import their stuff and they don't have to get a license. When we talk about eggs, and we could boast and say that we're self-sufficient, we only have self-sufficiency because supermarkets, restaurants, hotels, they need to get an import license if they want to import eggs. And we generally don't issue an import license if we have enough eggs available. You remove that practice, and then we have no egg industry. Because it seems like these supermarkets are just so comfortable with going in the direction where only the importing class is making money. And that just can't continue, because our local farmers, our people on the ground must be able to benefit, from the agricultural industry.
Yes.
And the last point that I want to make, let's look at chicken, right? And I see Nevis has started construction with their poultry starting facility. We import $20 million worth of chicken per year. So I'm waiting patiently to see what would be the feedback from the supermarkets, the hoteliers, etc., when it comes to us being able to produce our own chicken and have it available for them to purchase.
Mr. Fleming, I want to thank you for making this call and make a great contribution. Greatly appreciate this call.
Thank you.
Yes, your son?
Yeah, man, definitely. Yeah, man, definitely. It was great to hear the voice of the, well, I don't know what his exact position is, but the farmer or PS of Agriculture, Miguel Fleming. That's him who was on the line, and he was commending Danny and us, as he recognized that we are all passionate about agriculture, and he was making his contribution and adding to some of the points that we would have made. So Danny, definitely, like I've told you, some people, you might not necessarily see them show up on the feed. There are people out there listening, and they are paying attention to what we are discussing. Before I go back to you with the wrap up, I'll just go to one or two more comments. Mighty Servant says cooperatives, farmers need to come together and create a proper farmers market, a place where proper parking space and so on, a place that is attractive and have good consistency. Bobby Jones says, okay, yes, son, the import bill from years back was being recorded, right? So do some research and go back as far as possible to see if you can get the import bill from years ago so we can make comparisons. Our original lyric says, greetings, my Nevis family. Hope the discussion tonight was very informative. Keep up the good works, my brethren. The last caller, Deslin Sargent says, the last caller made an excellent point. So, Danny, yes, back to you. In the wrap up, like I said, your views and opinions and the cannabis saga that's going on, and or anything else that you want to summarize in relation to whether it's the SSZ, agriculture, small businesses. The floor is yours.
Well, first, let me thank each and every one of you, Banky, and you, Yason. I mean, we go way back, So I need not. The people don't know, but They say you know if you know, and so we give thanks. We're glad that we're able to have worked with you on so many different fronts over as long as I can recall, and so we are grateful that we can come and contribute to you here on a very important. Um, I said to you all before, I've said to all who've listened to me, if you want to control the weed, you have to control the seed. I believe that, if you, Banky has the skills, he knows how to do the cloning and all that kind of thing. What I'm saying, therefore, is that you've got to have the capacity in your people if you got to take the process forward, or you will be forever paying people, experts to come from Jamaica or wherever and so forth. But then there's something called the uniqueness of your environment. And so I think that you need to have that special capacity. And I think Banky, people like yourself and the other person from across the water who got into, had to the interaction with the government, I think also is that maybe a lot of people do not want to say it, but I'll be the first one to tell you that that I think that there is a fork tongue approach. The government, you're hearing double speak. You understand? When you listen to a conversation today and you listen to a conversation from the same persons some time ago, it seems as if one is saying that it is okay for you to smoke if you're like me, but it's not okay to smoke if you're like he. And it is okay for you to do it. And but the thing about it is that you show the leaders of the country, they tell you should only have 5 plants, but the places that they show you in all the pictures have 5 by something plants. So what are you trying to communicate? You're confusing me. I'm not going to say anything more than that because I'm a controversial person in my own right when it comes to ganja. You understand? I do not see how you're going to blackboard. But then you come and tell me I should only keep 5 birds. Believe me, you can't fool me. Tom might be drunk, but Tom is stupid. And I will leave that. Okay? When it comes to the other thing is that we have a situation here that
you're breaking up a bit. Okay, you're back. Go ahead. So repeat again and then let's
except for Dr. Jerome Thomas and Dr. Keith Archibald, only Jackson has been close in technical competence to Miguel Fleming. I don't carry any brief for him. I like the guy. I think he's technically sound. I saw what he was doing at Bayfords, and I saw what he did in his efforts to get, a helicopter view of agriculture transformation. And that's all I will have to say. I think that we need to build the capacity in our people. if we are really going to do the do when it comes to agriculture. I think that small business, that's my heart and soul. I believe I believe also that the diaspora, we don't need them 5 minutes every 5 years to fly in, vote for us, drink some liquor, eat some chicken or whatever until and fly back out. You understand? What we need to do is to have that sense of community spirit where our people understand that, listen, whether I am in the yard or I am abroad, Nevis it's I'm sure that I keep that place healthy, I keep that place secure. I do not allow any I do not allow any whatever you call them, where you call them from overseas, wherever, to come here and
Expat. Expatriate.
change the not expats, because listen, there have been a lot of expats significantly to the development of this country. Mr. Gaskell, the people, Vicky No, I mean, Miss Swift. I mean, I can call so many names of so many people who came here and made such major Barnum over at Nisbet Plantation. Almost everybody over that side of the country were assured that once they have a product that they could sell it to Nisbet Plantation. And that was what happened. And so when you have situation like this, you get to that place where you know you do not want anybody who is coming and needs some shares, and in terms of we need real investors. We need people who are going to put some direct foreign investment into the country and get a profit, but help our people at the same time. The Four Seasons model with 35 years of work has worked well for us, with us. We do not like everything, but I'm saying to you, it has been comfortable in terms of providing employment. What we have got to do is to up our game to make sure that more of our people can upstream into management, so that we can, because wherever we had that, my friend Curtis Smitten, who is from up my alley, he became an executive chef from upstream into there. You have people like Didi who have our own business. You have people like who have his own business. All of these people, all of the people who have the water taxis, they all scaled up and scaled through Four Seasons. They got the best practice education, and they came and they are now entrepreneurs in their own right. Errol Pemberton, photographer extraordinaire. I mean, I can call these people because I know them and they don't have no problem with calling him. And so I do not see in the short to medium term neither the underlying assumptions, nor the payout, nor the renter crowd approaches from the destiny to be either bona fide nor sustainable. I do not like it. I don't like how it seems. If it walks like a duck, I am having discomfort. And so, my brothers, thank you for having me. I mean, you know,
it's a rent a crowd. It's a rent a crowd. That's what it's a right? Rent a crowd.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Okay,
Danny, I am really, really and truly grateful and honored for your presence this evening, the contributions that you would have made on the platform. Before I finish with you, I'm just going to get in these couple of comments, because I know we're going to wrap up now, but I'm just going to take in at least the last of the comments that came in while you were speaking. You would have had Pedro Gemot says decriminalization. Okay, sorry, before that, we would have had Hero Dan says, Hero here. Danny has given me so much knowledge in regards to business. At the time I had my fitness center in St. James's, I tried my best to put his ideas into play, but capital is king for small businesses. Pedro Jamat says, it's double speak. Decriminalization is not legalization. C. Gaskell says, we all need to understand that the global economy is heading south at turbo speed. Our focus should be on the home economy. Imports will be affected. we have to focus on food, water, and energy. Pedro Dramat says investors. Sigaskel says community spirit and community involvement is governance as well as decision making. Deliberations that involve more people from the whole strata of our community will shield us from corrupt actors. Deslin Sargent says Daniel Arthurton definitely has to be back on your show, extremely informed. Burlby Jones says the Animals and Plant Protection Bill, why can't the government implement that if violated supermarkets just get fined or violated? Okay, so Danny, I just wanted to make sure that we get in some of the comments and the rest of the comments because we try to, as much as possible, accommodate those who make the comments on whether it's a Facebook or the YouTube platform and or our callers as well, because they play a critical role as well as our guests. So they're just as important, as our guests. And we really and truly want to thank you. You could have been doing any other thing on this wonderful, good or bad Friday evening, but you opted to give us your valuable time to be on the program. Based on the feedback that we're getting, I'm hopeful that if possible, and we could call on you again because the folks seemingly want you back, that you would be open and willing as long as, it's possible to come back and be here with us.
You don't have to go through all of that, Lion, Let me tell you, I homegrown, I don't have the intention to go
Tell him that he made a deal with it.
Thing about it is that when you're ready, you understand, we will have the discussion, we will come and we'll talk about the different aspects. I mean, so that, we don't get to too many things at one time. We could decide to focus on a specific set of matters related to agriculture, whether it's agricultural project writing, dancing, agricultural this. And the thing about it is that it's you and bank, all you have to do is to get the people together and we just come in a place, credit union, whatever, and have a discussion. Because the thing about it, if people are willing to learn, I am willing to work with them. No, I am not willing to ask nobody to come to do what they're supposed to be using their own initiative to do. You got it?
Yes, sir.
So that is where we sit on this side of the fence. And I just want to say to demand them maximum respect for doing whatever you do to keep the people educated, because this is so important. First, you must create the awareness, and then you must give the people a fuller education in terms of, so that they, in a simplified way, because you don't want brainwash education, then turn around and call us fools.
True. Well, yes, folks, for full disclosure, Danny is my personal brethren. Just like our bank is my personal brethren, we are all one here. So I guess he just fixing me up. I was trying to ensure that the audience who don't know that, right? I was, kind of making it, as he said, go around the bush, so to speak, to invite him back on the platform. But people, I want to thank all of you for your participation this evening. I want to encourage you to go on over to the YouTube platform, click on the notification bell, subscribe, like, and share this edition of the Topics. Danny, thanks again a million times for coming, and we look forward to having you back on our next discussion. Banky, enough respect as my usual co-host, Ira and the team at Real Entertainment Network. Want to thank all of you, and like I said before we leave, one more time, go on over to the YouTube platform, click on the notification bell, subscribe, and like Real Entertainment Network. Until next week, Tuesday, when we're back with another edition of the Topics, and it will be next week Monday when we have quality time with Alan on the platform, and then Tuesday when we have another edition of the Topics. We see you guys until then. And remember, before I leave, to come on out and support Banky and Jama on the march on the 10th of April. You definitely want to be able to support, human rights, equal rights, the cannabis. Disrespect to the elders, disrespect to farmers. Just come and support and show this day The march will start at the Alexander Museum, or the front of the Alexander Museum. Will make its way up to the DR Walwyn Square, which is the bus stop that will take you to Newcastle. It starts at 2:30 p.m. and it goes until 5:30 p.m. So that's the last plug for this evening. Thank everybody. Thank everybody once again, all the callers, all the folks who commented on the Facebook or the YouTube, whatever platform, and Real Entertainment Network. Enough love, guidance, and protection, everybody. Seems like our technician is not ready yet. So, Danny, like I said, you know what I mean, it's always a pleasure having you on the platform. We know you like a brother, and I think everybody really appreciated the information that you would have shared. As usual, you know, we really, really want to thank you again. Banky, as usual, always a pleasure having you on the platform, even though we sometimes, from time to time, you know, disagree on issues. We do so publicly and we let people know we just keep it real, you know. I mean, that's just how it is. And, you know, we would not necessarily always agree. And we disagree, agree to disagree at times, and we demonstrate that through this platform. Thank everybody again. I guess we'll just wait on our technician to get us out of here. And I'll wait for that cue. Usually we get that cue that shows to subscribe.
Remember, the match will be streamed live too, eh? We'll also be streaming live, definitely. So those overseas will be having topics live on the street and stuff like that. So remember, it's peaceful. Remember, they are finding people for cannabis, so try not to, do not come out to be smoking in public for them to give us something negative reviews, or we kind of do not give nobody no reason to get harassed. So come out with intention to educate and be well disciplined. So no arrest and no confusion is made and stuff like that. So they can't expect to say, oh, you have cannabis trees, you have this, you have that, and now they're smoking up. No. We're coming to educate for better policing, as Yasan saying, a better cannabis industry, and where the police them can no longer have all these junker police and tactical gears to intimidate the general public and in treating the elderly. So we're expecting everyone to come out and give support to the community and stuff like that. So you see, the technical guys here, Danny, thanks again, and thanks for those for tuning in and for their comments, and keep supporting Real Entertainment Network. Greatly appreciate you guys. Next week Tuesday we'll have Yesterday, Back to My Roots. That will be our guest for next week Tuesday. Yesterday will be our guest, and as the match finish, we'll be back to have the show. Same time for 7 o'clock. That's where the match will finish for around 5:30. So we still have to do the Everything Agriculture show this said evening, next week Friday. All right.
Guidance, everybody. See you guys next week.
A losing fight. Mantra. Name is Banky Shabazking. Hear me well. Got a patch of green and a story to tell. One morning peace was the order of day, till a policeman came to block the way. Warrant in hand, looking stern and grand. Just lean on his hoe and stand. They asked Farmer Banky, what you doing here? He said, cultivating what I hold dear. This is my medicine, begun.